This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by WDWWallpaper.com, which is just 99 cents on iTunes, and you'll get pictures from Walt Disney World on your iPhone, iPad, or iTouch. Enjoy the magic of Disney World every day. WDW Pix brings over 40 high-quality photos to your device to use as backgrounds and wallpapers. Wallpapers from the Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Disney's Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and the Disney Resorts. Disney World images right on your iPhone or iPad, or you can go to their website and print out photos. That's right, you can order prints. Just go to www.wdwwallpaper.com.
Bringing the world to your world, this is Walt Disney World Today. Here are Mike Scopa, Len Testa, Mike Newell, and your host, Matt Hochberg.
It's Monday, September 27th, 2010, and this is episode 778 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World, which is at touringplans.com. And Len, I got one question for you. At which point do the Steelers just bring back Cordell Stewart because they've got no one else left?
I was actually going to tell you guys I can't make it to do next week's podcast. I'm auditioning for quarterback for the last game.
They get a batch of problems, something.
Exactly. Yeah, nice. Nice.
Oh, don't encourage him. Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome to the show, Mike.
So here's the thing. I figure I can go out for, third string quarterback for the Steelers,
I think so. Just watch your knees. Apparently that's a problem.
I'm just saying.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
So here's the opening. Are you feeling an increase in lateral forces?
Test track.
Test track.
Test track.
Test track. Remember that rap from
Magic Beats?
No,
Test track
don't.
raps?
No, because now they're going to all ask for it, and I got to now have to dig it up.
Test track.
That's my own fault.
Test track.
Well, on today's show, we're talking about if we were in charge of refurbishing the Great Movie Ride, what would we do? But before we actually dive into that, I wanted to actually bring up the first subject, which is, should one refurb the Great Movie Ride? There's an argument to be made about that. To begin with, a lot of people have the argument that, it needs to be updated in new movies. But do you all agree that the Great Movie Ride should be updated, that it needs to be updated?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that portions should be. Not all of it needs to be, but I think portions should be, yes.
I totally agree with Mike.
Interesting. I mean,
apparently you don't agree.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you that Footlight Parade isn't probably something that needs to be replaced.
What? Busby Berkeley? What?
But I will say I have two qualms about a refurb at the Great Movie Ride. One is that sometimes, as much as we make fun of Footlight Parade and everything like that, it does have a place in history, especially in film history, and it's the films that are showcased in there are important films of the different genres and of the times. More so, like the Mummy scene is more a great example of that time than of the genre, whereas Mary Poppins is a classic example of that genre of live action musical kind of the comedy almost. And they do have their places, and again, the argument that I always bring up is, well, you don't go to the museum, the Natural History Museum, and goes, why do they have all these dinosaurs here? These things haven't been around for millions of years. Well, why? They're not relevant anymore. So does that hold water? I mean, what do you guys think when I say that, Len? What's your response to that argument?
I think it's different about things that go back in time for history. Things like dinosaurs, I think it's not a fair comparison. The movies are much more ephemeral and stay a limited amount of time in the public's consciousness. Even the classics, right? Classics fade away after time as well. They're not nearly as classic to subsequent generations. I think the Busby Berkeley. I said this actually in the Color Companion, the official guide Color Companion. No one knows who Busby Berkeley is. No one has ever seen Citizen Kane, right? Or Fantasia, right? Kids don't watch those movies these days. So in 10 more years, none of that, essentially the first, 2 minutes of the ride or 3 minutes of the ride, none of it's going to be relevant. Really, they really need to come up with something different, possibly starting, in the 50s.
Right. That's a fair argument. The other thing, my bigger issue with it is that I have a fear that while we'll talk about some good ideas, I think if Disney ever did go ahead with it, it would just turn into the Great Disney Movie Ride, But that's another. But we can't worry about that. But today we're talking about what we would do and how we would change it. So, what are some changes that? We'll start with you, Newell. What's a change that you would see? I mean, give us a scene that you would take out and a scene you would put in.
Wow. One of my least favorite scenes in the attraction has become over the years the alien scene.
Really?
You
It never works.
It's not just that. It's really you're in there for a long time, and I think that I don't want to say scare factor because it's not really scary anymore. I mean, I was never a big fan of the movie anyway, so to me that wasn't always a great thing to put in. It's just way too long for what it is, and I think you could do so much more with that space.
I mean, I think Alien really represented, kind of like Jaws, it really defined when Alien came out originally. I mean, they made so many awful remakes, game over, man, game over. Like that. It just, the sequels unfortunately were quite terrible after 1 or 2, but the original film was really a major film in that how it, that kind of the whole kind of like how they scared you without ever really showing the alien. Like it was only at the end really you saw the alien. It was always like creeping up on you, and it's that kind of a fear factor that really made, I thought, that film quite a classic film, really. But that's interesting you brought up Alien, because I would have brought up about 3 or 4 others before I ever got to Alien. I'd like to do kind of realize the original concept of the great movie ride with the Wizard of Oz, because it's kind of like, you go to Oz. First of all, you can rip out the Fantasia scene, put the tornado in there. That way it makes more sense. And if you're not aware, that scene where Fantasia was supposed to be the scene where you're going to go in the tornado. That's why it's windy over there. And
is that it?
Yeah, exactly. And you were supposed to be, then you were transported to Oz, which you are, and then the Wicked Witch comes over there, which you did, and then you go past. You say, "Oh, look, there's the magical city of Oz." But then the ride just ends. You go to the finale film, and what I'd love to see is the original concept of that was that you go down to another scene, and the Emerald, you'd be in the Emerald City, and it would really play out quite a bit. That to me, I think is something that I would love to see. That idea, the dream fully realized, if you will. So that's something I would do.
Just for that one movie.
Yeah, well, they dedicated a lot to that one film, and it is a classic film. I mean, everyone sees Wizard of Oz; it's on TV all the time, and
it is an important film in film history. It isn't, I agree. It should stay. Matt, why was the tornado scene removed? Or, I mean, well, the Oz tornado scene removed.
Well, the whole
too hard.
What's that?
Too hard to execute.
Yeah, there was a difficulty and budget also came into it.
Yeah.
That's why they already started building it, and they were just like, we can't do this. Let's just they literally just threw a projection of that Fantasia scene in there, because the wind is still from there. The sides, if you look at the side of where the film is being projected, you'll see that's supposed to represent a tornado. It
does look like a tornado. You're right.
Yeah, it's literally like they just stopped halfway through and were like, we can't do this. We need to put something else in here and just put that in there. And it's too bad, because it was a really, really cool idea, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I
it is.
It would be much better than what's there now.
Yeah. What about you, Scopa? What's something that you would do for the film, or for the attraction, rather?
You got me thinking about a few things. Number one, if we're talking about classic films, and what's the whole thing with the Western scene with John Wayne and Clint Eastwood? They're not talking about any specific movie there, so I have a problem with that, because it kind of goes against the theory, the premise that we're going to see some classic films. So I have a problem with that.
Doesn't he quote from John Wayne's quote is from a movie, though, the one about made up his mind a long time ago not to tell people what they think.
But it's the only scene. It's one of the, I'm not sure what other scenes. I mean, every other scene is like from a classic movie. So
are you saying that John Wayne movies aren't classic movies? Seriously.
Which movie are we talking about?
It's all of them. There's not a bad John Wayne movie ever.
So which John Wayne movie are we looking at when we go through the great movie ride?
I think it's supposed to be The Searchers, isn't it?
I think it's The Searchers, yeah.
That's the scene that he's depicted on his horse.
And it's also the clip from the film, right?
Right, exactly, in the pre-show.
So I have a problem with that. I also have had a problem for a long time with Tarzan, and I think it's because
you put a lot of thought into that. You've had a problem for a long time with Tarzan.
I think there are a lot of young adults who go through that attraction, and then what is this film? What is that film? Public Enemy #1 or whatever you do, James Cagney. So I think that they need to tweak it. They need to update it a little bit. There's been some classic films made since the studios opened in 1989. So I think that they need to take a look at, what they can do. And the second thing I'm thinking about is that it used to be called Disney's MGM Studios. Now it's called Disney Hollywood Studios. So maybe it should be all Disney movies. I don't know.
Oh, I totally disagree.
Yeah, there's not enough.
I mean, that's an argument that can be made, but I think that there should be, like anything else, there should be every once in a while, a study made. Say, okay, what kind of, what scenes within this attraction can we change? Can we update? And we look at the film at the end of the attraction, and there's all kinds of movies that they can put up there. And again, it's because it's in a Disney theme park, you're limited as to, what you can put on there. But I think that there's all kinds of possibilities, and it wouldn't hurt. And they could actually do some refurbishing, and well, I guess they wouldn't do that. I was going to say they could just close the scene and work on it while the others are, but you can't do that. So I think it's something that they could probably do, in a couple of weeks, if they do enough planning, maybe a month and a half, they would close down the attraction to put in a scene and audio animatronics and stuff. But I think it's time. I think it's showing its age. I think that I'm also tending to agree with Mike Newell about the alien scene. It's like I'm getting kind of bored. So when I go through that scene, I'm looking for different things, and it's like, okay, I wonder if the alien's going to work this time.
I would agree with Tarzan. I think it's probably past its time. I mean, that film is, even though it's probably still arguably the best Tarzan film ever made, its time has come and gone. And certainly,
what has Tarzan brought to movie history? I mean, I can understand the other films that bring something to history, but Tarzan?
Right. No, you're right, Mike. I mean, certainly there's genres that are missing. I mean, comedy is missing.
Right.
And some others that escape me right at this moment. But I would think that.
Oh, you know what else? The bromance is missing from
bromance.
From Great Movie Ride. Yeah, exactly.
Starsky and Hutch. That's what we really need here.
Exactly. Or the romantic comedy.
Yeah, romantic films. Well, you got
Casablanca
romantic comedy. Yeah.
I watched.
Why is The Godfather there? Probably the greatest movie.
Oh yeah,
it's true. I watched Casablanca on the flight back from London again, and I watched it because I didn't have anything to do. I watched it, really, really closely. It was there are more funny scenes in that, more funny lines in that movie than I give it credit for. The original time.
I really think what I mean. Look, we made fun of it already, but is a Footlight Parade needs to go. That I think goes without saying, right? So what would you put in something?
I would agree.
What would you put in something in that small? It's not like a huge area. It's really all it is just kind of a not a wall, but I mean there's a little bit of depth behind there, but it's not a huge scene. So what would you put in where Bubsy Berkeley is?
Bugsy Berkeley. Busby.
You'd want to put something really flashy because it's the very first scene.
Yeah, you know what? I think they actually have the film clip at the end of the ride. It's Harold Lloyd hanging from the clock. It's the 70s. It's right around the Charlie Chaplin stuff, but it's right after it's Harold Lloyd.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That would be good because you could have him dangling in sort of 3D. It'd be dynamic.
That would be kind of cool. I mean, I like the idea of 3D also, just like kind of like drawing people in there immediately, like wow. Making a little more.
Well, plus, I mean, if you do the 3D right and the guy's actually hanging down, when you can see the city and stuff like that, it's sort of a dramatic sort of scene. It wouldn't be bad at all. Anyway,
only one Disney movie.
What I'd love to see. I was just thinking for the Tarzan scene, what if you put Gone with the Wind in there? Like you put the big staircase scene. And
animatronics going up the staircase?
Going up the staircase, yeah.
Matt, I don't give a damn.
Number two, I've never actually seen the movie.
Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, I haven't either.
I don't really care about it. No, it just doesn't appeal to me at all. I think of is it antebellum stuff? Is it after the war or is it before the war?
Oh, it's Civil War, I believe.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. The funny thing is the town it takes place in is supposed to be in Georgia. It doesn't actually exist. It would never happen. Gone with the Wind is fictional. And the town in Georgia that it happened with, people come there all the time asking to see where, what's it, Red Butler, right? That's his name. Yeah. Where's his house? Like what didn't happen. It was a film.
There's Bert Fox.
All right. But people speak in Klingon too, and that's not
that's
a real,
true. That's true. But
it is actually the real language now. They've got a grammar and everything. But you're right. Yeah.
What about you guys going to keep the Singing in the Rain?
Sing! Yeah. Although, again, no one's seen it. What's another? You know, they should replace it with, because they'd have to replace musical for musical, right? So it'd either have to be Hair or Tommy.
Ooh.
I mean, really, you want something that kids can kind of relate to, right? It has
But if
to
you're going for that angle, it has to be something recent.
Oh, Grease.
Yeah, Grease would be a better option.
Grease would work, yeah.
Grease would much-
I think that's an idea, yeah.
Mary Poppins, we're keeping it?
Nah.
Yeah.
No?
Get rid of all the Disney movies. Actually, you know what they could do? They could put a Pirates of the Caribbean scene in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like they don't have an attraction in another theme park that's all about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, I know, but it saved their franchise.
And that's why they updated it with characters from that movie.
I know, but it's a classic movie in its own right. It's essentially rewrote the book on what it means to be a pirate film. So.
Yeah, not true. I mean, I would think a war scene would be like a war movie. That's not really represented in there. Be it World War II, be it Vietnam, it doesn't matter to me. But I would love to see like a vista of a battlefield and maybe Saving Private Ryan.
The Longest Day or The Great Escape.
That's a classic film. Great
Escape.
That
is.
Love that film. I hate to say it, I would even allow like Pearl Harbor, even though it wasn't a great film, but.
Wait, way to bring a happy crowd down. Hey, we're going to Disney. Yeah, no, here we are in Pearl Harbor.
Now, how cool would that be? I mean, just see, like, you hear bombs, in the background. It'd be kind of cool to have that kind of sensory experience.
Yeah, but it's not a happy thought. I mean, I'd be kind of bummed if I saw that.
I think it would be cool. I don't know.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't know.
Let's not forget in the current attraction, somebody dies, is burned alive.
Oh, it's a great movie right of death, right?
Yeah, and you're hijacked, and
you're hijacked. Somebody gets their teeth kicked in, right?
All right. Let's move on to Scopy. You kind of mentioned this earlier. The crime area, the underworld scene.
Well, you've got the part of the attraction where the gangsters come out, and again, it's not. It has nothing to do with any specific movie, although the license plate signifies the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. But I guess that's what I have a problem with, Matt. If it's going to be the great movie ride, then it should have only great movie scenes in there, not I don't know, scenes
genres,
from genre. Generic scenes.
There could be composites, right?
Yeah, I don't have.
If
I would rather see
the lines are if the dialogue is recognizable. Yeah, it's a different story.
I would love to have it. Keep it that kind of a crime thought, but update it. The Godfather, Casino, Goodfellas, those kinds of films have really defined.
Say hello to my little friend.
I mean, those films have really redefined the crime movie. Because before it was those, the 1930s kind of stuff. But now, I mean, really, when you think about that kind of genre, really those Godfather films and of that ilk, I think really, even The Departed. I mean, these are films that I think really speak to what we're talking about. And that I think would be an excellent way to upgrade and kind of update what we currently have.
And how cool would it be if Joe Pesci actually hijacked the train?
Oh, that'd be fun.
That would be great.
How you doing?
What? I'm a clown? Like I amuse you? That would be the script, right? Can you imagine how that would go with the cast member? That'd be hysterical.
Hey, how about for the Mary Poppins, going back to the Mary Poppins scene, West Side Story.
That would be bad. Sharks, Jets.
Yeah.
That's sort of a classic American film. Yeah.
What are some films of the last 15, maybe even 20 years that should be included?
The A-Team.
The A-Team.
That was a great movie. Have you guys seen it? I watched it on the plane. It wasn't bad at all. Funny.
What do you think, Scopa? What's a film of the last 15 or 20 years that you would say needs to be in the Great Movie Ride?
Good question.
Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Don't make fun of that.
Too close to home.
Yeah, really. Dude,
I love Forrest Gump. I think that's a great film. It's already in the finale. So
I think the film was overrated. Actually, going back to Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo in my Facebook profile, it's listed as my favorite film. I said actually, the unbearable lightness of being, and Break It to Electric Boogaloo.
Now, in fairness to Disney, what would be a Disney film? If you could take one Disney film, what's the 15, 20 years? What's the Disney film you would include in there?
Live action or animated?
Doesn't matter.
Animated, The Lion King, and I gotta go with Pirates 1.
How about Titanic?
Oh yeah,
you know what?
Yeah.
I was going to say that, but that's back to my Pearl Harbor argument that it's
Well, you could put the scene. You could put the scene where they're I'm king of the world. That's kind of happy still.
If they're not. Well, they're doomed, but they just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah, I think they should just have scenes of films that actually reflect film history and not just whether or not it was a good.
Yeah,
movie.
like what was the major achievement? Like Star Wars, right? Had technical achievements to it. So
right, Wizard of Oz,
right? The color thing, right? You could even conceivably say that Steamboat Willie belongs in there somewhere, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's exactly that anything that changed the way film was made. I think
or the direction, or some technical achievement, right? So yeah, so Al Jolson and the jazz singer,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think we can agree, The Godfather would need to be included.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I really think Rocky would be good. Sports genre is not included. Rocky would be so great for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Rocky and Godfather were in agreement on that.
Yep. Let's come up with two more films that we could say definitively should be in the Great Movie Ride.
One's already in there. Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's sort of the definitive adventure movie.
Yeah, that's in there, and definitely.
It's in there, yeah.
The definitive Western is could be High Noon, right? Could be Gary Cooper. But I think it's John Wayne. You've got action movies.
How about? Well, I mean, is there anything more romantic than Casablanca?
No. Like I said, I just watched that movie a couple days ago. It was still good. Romance, science fiction, Star Wars. Star Wars needs to be in there.
This is tough because I mean, I would agree with you the line about Star Wars, but again, like I think Noel mentioned it. I mean, there's a whole attraction dedicated to it.
Yeah, right down
the way. So it's kind of silly to. Yeah. I would love to see a comedy. So what would we say would be the definitive comedy film of the last 30, 40 years?
Airplane.
Yeah, that was good, but I think we'd have to go with Animal House.
Animal House, huh?
But you really can't put. I mean, Animal House was a great comedy, but it's a great adult comedy.
Yeah,
I don't know what you can do with it in a Disney film.
I mean, like Blazing Saddles, I think is so funny, but I mean, you can't put that in there.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
You have to go the safe route on this one. Airplane Airplane is it's not that bad. I mean, they make some jokes, but. So
I'm looking at the AFI's top 100 comedies. I don't think there's anything you could really put in the top 10 that you could legitimately, that you could put in there.
All right. Well, one last one. We're running out of time here. One more film. I mean, we haven't covered horror films really. Like modern, The Exorcist.
Too scary.
Yeah, it was a good movie though.
Freddy Krueger. I mean, you can go.
Oh yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street actually, but you probably couldn't do it.
Yeah, you don't want something too scary because that's
Shining.
Well, you know what they don't have? I don't see any James Bond movies. That was huge in the 60s and 70s.
Yes. The spy movie, James Bond.
What about Goldfinger or something like that?
Yeah. That's totally missing. Well, they have it in a film clip in the montage at the end, right?
Yeah. But James Bond was supposed to be used in where Indiana Jones is, the Epic Stunt Spectacular. They were considering James Bond at first, and then they couldn't get the rights, so they went.
But that's good. I would say James Bond.
Good.
That would be great.
Nice job.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. I want to remind all of our listeners of our sponsor, which is www.wallpapers.com. And, you can get pictures from Walt Disney World on your iPhone, iPad, or iTouch. Enjoy the magic of Disney World every day. WDW brings over 40 high-quality photos to your device to use as backgrounds and wallpapers. Wallpapers from the Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Disney's Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and the Disney Resorts. Disney World images right on your iPhone or iPad. That'll do it for us today. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your notes. You can visit us at www.wdwtoday.com. For Line Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hotchberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.